Hey guys, so really quickly, I'm just doing this. It's kind of late, but I'm doing this before I forget my thoughts on this. Um, so what was it? Oh yeah, that's right. So one thing I forgot to mention when I filmed did the live for the first part of this is I I kind of wonder if there's anything I could have done for my friends. Like obviously for the some of my friends, they're all siblings. They moved, so not necessarily not necessarily an easy thing for me to have done regarding them, but for some of my closer friends that were nearby, I wonder, is there anything that I could have done? Could I, maybe I needed to have been a little bit more forceful, not that I was in authority to be, but maybe that in this case was the right step, or maybe not. Um, I wonder if there's anything the parents could have done that they didn't do. I don't know what went on kind of behind the scenes within their family. So, not at this moment, but in the past, that has made me sad thinking anything I could have done. But I also realize it's not the parents' problem because in all my friends' cases, except for the coworker I mentioned, but in all my friends' cases, their parents are still strong in the church. It's them. So I think it's just they had a lot of outward, outward influence. Ooh, yeah. So, oh man, I, I think I glossed over this in the first little section. So let me see here if I can just. Doing a little makeshift. Here we go. So I can kind of sit here and talk to you guys. Alright, a little makeshift tripod there. Hope my phone doesn't fall. Shouldn't. So, the last chapter in this, hopefully, is. I forgot to mention this in the first bit. But I also forgot to mention about. The song How to Save a Life by The Fray. And then there's also a similar song by the Lightning Seeds, wonderful band, called All I Want. So the song by The Fray basically says, it's basically step one, you say we need to talk. He walks, you say sit down, it's just a talk. You gotta look past, I don't remember the lyrics exactly, but you gotta look past his defense. Basically, you need to remind him of what's right, of things that you told him all along. You just need to remind them, hey, I've been saying all along, this is the wrong thing, don't do it. It talks about how they're gonna start drifting farther, and these lyrics make me cry. But they're gonna start drifting, and you'll begin to wonder why you came. This is exact lyrics. Where did I go wrong? I lost a friend. Somewhere along in all the bitterness. And I would have stayed up all night had I known how to save a life. And it goes on to talk about how you're going to, you need to look past get past his defense without granting innocence. It basically means he's putting up a defense of saying why he's doing it. You got to get past it, while at the same time not saying, yeah, I totally recognize that you're addicted to drugs, and I feel for you, man, and say that's okay. How you can't say it's okay at all. Also, you got to, it's something about they're going to lead you down a certain road. You got to keep going or break with the ones that follow. Yeah, oh yeah, it was lay down a list of what is wrong. Things you told him all along. But then eventually it says, you got to tell him all these things and then pray to God that he hears you. Pray to God that he hears you. But it says, you can look at the lyrics too because I'm kind of messing them up a bit. What's the one other key thing it says? It says, when you're talking with him, he will admit to everything, or he will say he's just not the same, and you'll begin to wonder why you came. Repeat of the chorus, where did I go wrong? I lost a friend somewhere along in the bitterness, and I would have stayed up all night with you had I known how to save a life. 1 second, I'm going to switch to data. Okay, we are back to my LTE data, because hopefully it has a slightly, it's consistently said poor connection. My phone, house Wi-Fi was just saying bad connection and then poor connection, so hopefully this is more stable. Anyways, so, yeah, the Lightning Seed song is similar. The chorus says, all I want to do is make you listen from now on. Stop what's going on. Stop what's going wrong. Oh, you'd better listen from now on. And it's interesting. It's, see if I can remember this one, because I've listened to this one a lot more. I have it in my music library. Let's see. How does it start? It's, I can't ignore or hide away. I can't escape from the things that lie in our way. Take it, leave it, break it. Anyway, you can't get back to yesterday. All I want to do is make you listen from now on. Stop what's going on. Stop what's going wrong. Or you'd better listen from now on. Confidence, coincidence, call it a sin, it's just like being sane. Tomorrow's here, so open up your eyes, never hesitate. All I want to do is make you listen from now on. Cardboard men are strong, but paper can be torn. Oh, you'd better listen from now on. It makes me want to give you everything. Pick you up and take you home again. Hold you tight and think that now is then. Oh, all I want to do is make you listen from now on. Stop what's going on. Stop what's going wrong. You'd better listen from now on. I think I got that right. So, I'm going to quickly gloss over this and get to my point so I can get to bed. This song is similar to the last one, but this one's kind of saying we can't escape from the bad things that are around us, all the problems in the world. But I want you to listen to me, because I'm an authority, Hopefully you're an authority saying this, but I'm an authority. You should listen and stop what's going on. Stop doing bad things. Talks about how a lot of things we might call sin, some confidence. We shouldn't be afraid. Tomorrow's here, so open up your eyes and never hesitate. Don't be afraid to go forward. And kind of, it also glosses on, I wish it was in the past. And that, to me, brings up several reasons. One, in the past, the person and subject that you're trying to get to do better, they were probably more innocent. And that's kind of one reason that I wish I was a child. There's this joke that one of my institute teachers had where it's like, how many of you want to be kids again? No, you don't want to be kids again because they told you what, your parents told you what to wear, told you what to eat, they told you what you had to do, where you had to be. You don't want to be kids again. But the reason that you actually do want to be kids again is because you're not responsible for things. And after I thought about that for a while, I realized for me, it's not because I don't want responsibility. I like the responsibility that I have now. I don't necessarily, right now I don't want more responsibility. I think I have a good amount right now. I'll take more in the future, but right now I have a good amount of responsibility. It's not that I want to have less responsibility. It's that I was innocent. It's that one little crude piece of humor or somebody saying a bad word or something back then might have gone right over me, but now it's like, oh, that was dirty. Oh yeah, and remember that other dirty thing you saw and this other dirty thing? Shut up, mind, let's get clean again and quit being dirty. Ugh, I've seen too much. So yeah, that's kind of why I want to be a kid again. So yesterday could mean they're innocent. They were more innocent back then. But tomorrow's here, so hold you tight and think that now is then could also refer to even just things being cleaner back in the past, which they kind of were. So So the final thing I want to say, kind of culminating from these two songs, I'm not an expert on this, don't quote me on this. This is kind of what I would say for how you might go about helping your friends get back to what's right. The number one most important thing is to be friends for them and be there for them. If they need help within reason, be there to help them. Just be open and inviting. You need to invite them back. So, obviously, if they need help, and that help is loan a little bit of cash for some cigarettes, no, don't do that stuff. Don't loan them smokes and drug money, Well, there may be some very rare instances where that is actually the thing to do. If you feel it's right, if the Lord tells you it's right, if loaning them a little bit of money will make them feel more comfortable and open up to you, do it. But very rare cases. 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't loan them smoke money. But there's that. There's also... but be open and inviting. You want to be willing to bring them back. In very rare cases, should you force them to come back. Here's an analogy I thought of that it's kind of... Take your pick, but force could end up bad. First of all, you don't want to force unless you are really in an authoritative state. Like, if you are older than them by a significant number of years and you're really close friends, or parents are authoritative, there are other somewhat authoritative positions like a bishop or a religious leader, but less so than a parent. But if you're one of those, only do this if you absolutely have to. Or there are some cases where it's like, yeah, I'm not in an authoritative state, but he is totally going to go out and do drugs now, and I should totally tackle him down and prevent him from doing drugs. So if that happens, there are two main outcomes that I see is, one outcome, they might not like you for a while, but then eventually they'll be like, okay, yeah, he was right, I'm sorry, and you'll be friends again. They might thank you for it. Or you might maybe still be friends, but they still kind of resent that. The other outcome is, I'm not doing drugs anymore, but he's not my friend anymore. So you're not friends with them, but they're also not doing drugs anymore. So you gotta think. Lose your friendship, and they're not doing drugs anymore. So they're somewhat better person, but they're not doing drugs anymore. Or that's the possibility, or there's a possibility that they'll still be friends and not do drugs anymore. or no force at all and just leave them doing drugs. Or, and the worst case scenario that I came up with in my mind is, for whatever reason, you got them off of the drugs, but they don't want to do anything. And so they just kind of want to sit there and lay down on the couch and just lay there until they go hungry and die. Which, possibility too, very small possibility. So you got to be careful with the force, because you don't want, the most important thing is your line of friendship, your line of open inviting, And so you want to, so with this being open and inviting, invite them to activities, you could invite them to church if they don't want to go to church. Well, then invite them to an activity. Say, hey, it's not going to be religious. It's not centered around religious stuff. It's just me and my church buddies. We're just having food. That's it. We're having a big get-together for food and friends, and that's it. Why don't you come and get food with us? Invite them to play games with your family, especially if your parents invite them to these things. Invite them to be playing games with the family. Invite them to things where they won't do drugs. You invite them to a game night, then they're not probably going to be out doing drugs, hopefully. Or invite them to come to the grocery store with you. Invite them to these different events and things, Be open and inviting is the best way to slowly get them to come back. Now, this is the thing you have to be very, very, very cautious about. And I would only do this as a last resort. I would even maybe possibly put being a little bit forceful before this. But one option too, if inviting doesn't work, if you're like, hey, would you like to come to the grocery store with us? And they say no, and while you're at the store, they're just going to go on and smoke. So invite instead, maybe also entice. Maybe say, hey, would you like to go to the grocery store with us? Not really, I got stuff to do. If you come to the grocery store with us, I'll buy you a bag of chips or your favorite snack or something. Might entice them. Now, you have to be very cautious with this. The issue is you might end up setting a precedent where they could expect going to the grocery store gets them chips, but you might not always be planning to give them chips when they come to the grocery store. You might not always be able to give them their favorite chips or drink when they go to the grocery store with you. So you kind of got to think, and this again goes back to the other example of, them not being friends maybe. So in this case, it would be, you got to think. For me personally, friends that I know and what I'm thinking about, I would say this is kind of worth it, but you got to think, if I successfully get them off of drugs, but then end up with a kid who also always expects chips and stuff when we go to the store, and therefore kind of sort of resents me, I would say that for most cases, again, still do the enticing and incentives last resort. But I would say for most cases that's probably better. Because if you think about it, they're not doing drugs. Yeah, they do resent you because you're not actually giving them chips every time you go to the grocery store or treats. But because they're not doing drugs, they're probably going to live a longer, healthier life. And so then, therefore, there's a better chance that they will turn around and become friends with you. They might resent you now, but, I don't know, a year, maybe 10 to 20 years later, they won't resent you anymore. And they'll have you to thank because they're still alive that 10, 20 years later to be doing stuff. They're not in a horrible life condition or dead from drugs and smokes. So you kind of got to weigh that in there, and I would say that even if 20 years later they still resent you, they're not doing drugs and they're still alive, which I kind of think is probably better than them doing drugs and not being around anymore. So yeah, in summary of hopefully this last part, I kind of wondered just if there's anything I could have done or anything the parents could have done, but I also recognize that there were just a lot of outward influences that probably hit on them, especially with my friends that moved. and all of the other new friends they're making talking about drugs and stuff behind their back. Or not drugs, but inappropriate things behind the teachers' backs and stuff. And, you know, I think it just wore on them, you know, wore them down. But also, use force last. Last resort should be forcefully taking away drugs and holding them from drugs. Use that last, only as a last resort. Be open and inviting. You want to be willing to, you want to be inviting for them to come back to the good side, or just inviting to do things with you and hang out. Invite them to places that give them less opportunities to do the drugs and smokes. And then finally, also last resort is incentives. Offer them things in exchange for being places with you where they can't do drugs. Or even just straight up offer them incentives for not doing drugs. You know, like the example that popped in my head right now is, you know, like, I'll give you some money if you don't do drugs for this long. And I'll keep giving you money, you know. But do that as a last resort. And then also just weigh your options. Make sure you know if the outcome looks like they would still be around and not be doing drugs after force, and you'd still be friends. Or even if you wouldn't be friends, maybe do it, because it's probably better for them to still be around and not doing drugs but not be your friends, you know. But, you know, if that's just going to probably end up getting you not being friends with them anymore, then still try and maintain that friendship. Still always be open and willing for them to come back. That's what God does, and that's what you should do too. You should always, always be willing. I am always willing to accept any of my friends back. If they say, hey, I want help coming back, I would try and find a way to go to them. I would be like, let me see if I can get this work schedule off. Let me see if I can put this off. Let me see if I can get my mom to drive me wherever they are, get to them to help them. So, seriously, I don't want to lose any of my friends. At this point, it's just open and inviting. I have gotten no signals from the Lord or anybody else that I need to be forcible or offer incentives. So yeah, we're just friends. I love you guys. If you need help with something, within reason, I'll help. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in whatever happens next.